Gravel cycling has changed everything I thought I knew about bikes. The way I ride, the way I see the world, or more accurately, the way I see beyond it. A gravel bike, for me, is more than just a bike. I honestly think it's a symbol for discovering how far you can really take yourself. They foster this curiosity and essence to explore beyond what we have before. And I've been riding the Polygon Tambora G8X for the past few months. It's a carbon gravel bike that feels insanely fast compared to the steel and touring bikes that I'm so used to and that I've sweared by in the past. And it's made me rethink what I believed about gravel bikes, what it means and how it feels and how damn good bikes have become. Because when I first got into gravel riding, I didn't know any of this. I had no idea how much the right setup, mindset, and approach would completely change the experience for me. And gravel bikes back then were premature. Gravel is more than just gravel roads. People love defining things. They love putting bikes into neat little categories. This is road, this is mountain, this is touring, and this is a gravel bike. But gravel bikes break every rule, and that's exactly why I love them. You see, I see gravel as a spectrum. It's speed, adventure, and versatility all in one. And some gravel bikes are like road bikes, but with clearance, designed for fast, rolling, hard-packed terrain, while others feel closer to hardtail mountain bikes, built for chunky, aggressive, single track. And then there are bikes somewhere in the middle, like the Tambora, for example, which is a carbon gravel bike that gives you the speed of a road bike, but the comfort and geometry of a more adventure-focused bike with the comfort to handle long days on mixed terrain. And I think it's just important not to get caught in the weeds of what a bike is defined as, but what the essence of the bike is and what it can actually do for us and how it can allow us to ride. And the best thing for gravel is that it forces you to be adaptable. It's honestly a mindset as much as it is a bike category. And when I first started gravel riding, I was still thinking in categories. Fast bikes were for road, comfortable bikes for touring, but I was wrong. You can have both. Take this bike, for example. It's lightweight, carbon build, but it also has an upright geometry with a comfortable stack reach ratio, meaning it doesn't wreck your back on those long days in the saddle. But then you have bikes on the extreme ends, some that are built purely for speed, and others are designed for comfort-first adventure riding. And this is where it gets tricky with gravel bikes because they're really merging categories like never before. We're seeing bikes that blend drop bar mountain bikes with XC bikes, some even incorporating gravel suspension forks with wider tyre clearance and low-range drivetrains to handle rougher terrain while still being efficient on the road. And the right gravel bike depends on your riding style. Want to race and ride fast? You want a lower front end, a shorter wheelbase and lighter weight build. But if you want something that's better for multi-day bikepacking adventures, looking for a slacker head tube and more compliance and wider tyres? Or do you want a balance of both? Something that feels fast but doesn't destroy you after 6 hours of riding? To me, gravel isn't about chasing numbers, it's about finding the balance between speed and comfort that lets you ride further and enjoy more of the world. Because there's so much to it, geometry, components, gearing. It really makes it overwhelming when it comes time to buying a bike, and especially with gravel bikes, this category is a mess. There's so many options and so many variabilities, which is why I can understand the frustration with the slate term of gravel, because it just creates a world of confusion. But that's why I love it so much as well, because it sparks the essence of potential. One of the things I obsessed quite a lot about in my early days when riding gravel was material. Should I buy carbon, steel, aluminium, or even titanium? And sure, frame material does matter to an extent. Ideally, if you want to go adventure cycling, you're probably better off with an aluminium or a steel frame. However, if you want to go fast, titanium is a good balance, but carbon is often ideal. But one thing that changed my ride significantly was my tyre choice. When I first got the Kona Sutra LTD, which is a steel-framed touring/gravel bike, I took it on Victor Vide bikepacking race and adventure with the stock 50mm tyres on it. And I suffered countless punctures sending it down single track terrain. The tyre width wasn't quite enough, and the tyres I had on it weren't quite supple enough to sustain me on such hard-packed, hardcore adventures. And that's why I love seeing gravel bikes these days that are pushing tyre clearances to newer levels, up to 2.3 inches and beyond. And that's what I've got on my Kona Sutra now. I'm able to run mountain bike tyres on it. It's literally a drop bar mountain bike now. And I can just send it over jumps on mountain bike trails and go pretty much anywhere. And that's the thing, your tyres are the only thing touching the ground. And I think that's a great place to start with considering ride comfort and adaptability. And that's how versatile gravel bikes are. You can have a set for the road and a set for the mountains. It's another thing why I'm so grateful for gravel bikes is I always used to think that I needed a specific bike for bikepacking or bicycle touring, starting out on my journey with touring bikes. Sluggish, slow touring bikes, great for adventure across countries, probably still recommend them for that. But as my riding evolved and I started moving away from the roads and more onto the trails and exploring off the beaten path and going on more day trips, day rides, I needed something that was a bit more nimble, something that was more fun to shred on trails and flick out the tail. And as I got curious about bikepacking, I stumbled across gravel bikes and realized that these are probably the best option in terms of finding the widest range of adaptable bike. Essentially a do-it-all bike that sometimes cannot do it all at all. Really does depend on the bike that you get. But to me, a gravel bike is a bikepacking bike. Some people go ultra light with a saddlebag and a top tube pack, and others load up their bikes for month-long expeditions. And I mean, I've tried to find a balance between that. My setup's a little bit overloaded, and that's why I started a blog named after that. It's still in my DNA. Sort of pushing the max of this bike's carrying capacity, running bikepacking style panniers, and a saddle bag along with a frame and handlebar bag chocked full of gear. But that's what I love about gravel bikes. It makes you realise that just about any bike will do as well. If a gravel bike can be good for road riding all the way through to bikepacking, whatever bike you have is generally pretty good. However, gravel bikes to me seem to fit this role the best. Over the years of cycling, one thing I've come to realise is that your riding style will evolve, and that's okay. If you're a human, we're goal-seeking creatures and we're destined to become better, become different and grow and evolve. And I think our bike selection and choices should shift with this evolution. Some people argue that you should have one bike and that's all. And on an environmental standpoint, I can understand that. That makes sense. However, why would we stick to the one bike that we've always had if it doesn't serve us anymore? If we change the style of adventures we want to go on and this bike doesn't suit us anymore, but there's something else out there, what's stopping us from upgrading or selling the bike that we have and getting another bike? You know what I mean? And when I started, I had no idea how much my riding style would change. For me, it used to be all about long, slow rides across countries. And now I love the speed and flow of fast, lightweight setups while still going the distance. But in a year, who knows? I might want to go back to full-loaded touring again. And that's the beauty of gravel to me. It evolves with you. It's such a diverse category that you don't have to define yourself by one style of riding. You just ride, explore, adapt, and let the journey unfold. And I think that's what it's all about. It's just getting out there on your bike and riding. And if you're just starting, if you're looking for a bike, I think a gravel bike is a very great option for that. If I could go back in time and tell myself anything when I started gravel riding, it'd be something like this. Don't get caught up in the labels, just ride. Gravel isn't a category, it's a mindset. And with all the options on the market these days, you can find a bike that is ideal for what you need, if you know what you're looking for. And back when I started, gravel bikes were, this little adaptation to a road bike that really had no potential at all. But over the years, they've evolved tremendously, and I'm excited to see where they go.